Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really excited about this presentation today for the secrets of Egypt and the Nile River. I'm Don Hathaway. I'm owner of Hathaway Dream Vacations and a personal travel advisor. Today, we're very fortunate to have with us Richard and Todd with us from AmaWaterways. They're going to be running the show, and Richard's going to give you some instructions about putting some notes in the chat box if you would like some questions answered. But we're very happy to have everybody on board. Looks like we got a good group here today, and we're really excited to hear more about Egypt and the Nile River, the mysteries of the Nile, and the exciting destinations that we're going to see. Okay, Richard, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Don, and thank you all for taking time to join us. I have to tell you, and I'm sure I speak for Todd, we love doing what we do. It's such an amazing company that we work for. River cruising is really a wonderful way of travel. If you haven't done it before, I can just share that it's a very immersive way of visiting some destinations. The ship acts as your luxury floating hotel. So we put these presentations together when Don and I had talked, maybe going back a couple months now, to really just kind of let you know that it's okay to still dream of travel. There's some wonderful things you may want to start adding to your list, and when those things open up where we can start getting some places that we want to travel to, then hopefully you can start checking some things off there and getting some things booked. Today though, my colleague Todd Ney, who's actually our product manager of not only Egypt but also of our Africa product, he's going to be running us through a really detailed look at our new product, Egypt, which actually officially begins September of next year. It's doing incredibly well. It's definitely the most requested destination right now. The other thing that I'll mention is that this is a recorded session, so if there's anything that you want to go back and hear that you may have missed, we'll be sharing this back with Don that he can again post and make sure he gets out to you. And if you have any questions along the way, I encourage you to please drop them in the questions box that you see there on the right side of your screen, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end of it. But without further delay, Todd, it is officially yours, my friend.
All right. Hi, everybody. So we'll get the ball rolling here, and I'm following the screen now where you can see the map of northern Africa. I just wanted to first point out the location of Egypt, and you can see it's in the northeastern portion of Africa. We got the Red Sea to the east, Mediterranean Sea to the north. And on the map here, you'll notice that I have Israel, Jordan, and the UAE or Dubai on, simply because those are pre and post extensions that you can do on this particular trip to Egypt. Also, pay attention to the lower left-hand sort of the map where you'll see Abu Simbel with the little plane. Just pay attention to that, and we'll bring it up later. It's kind of a fun place that I'll be talking about. So the program that we are showing here right now is 12 nights, 12 days in Egypt. We start with 3 nights in Cairo, fly down to Luxor. That flight takes about an hour. We'll board our brand new ship, the AmaDahlia, for 7 nights along the Nile. And then we'll fly back to Cairo for 1 additional night at the end of the trip. And again, you can see the location of Jordan and Israel, which are extensions on this program. All right, this is a brand new program that we're launching. It starts in September of 2021, and we'll sail weekly right through to June of 2022, and we'll start up again in September of 2022 through December. We don't sail in July and August, and the reason for that is just simply too hot in Egypt, and it's really an uncomfortable time to cruise. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is Cairo. Cairo is a massive city, 22 million people. In fact, even way back in the 14th century, Cairo already had 500,000 people living in the city. Cairo, it's a Arabic word meaning conqueror. And you can see the Amazon flows right through the heart of Cairo. The Amazon is 4,300 miles long. It is, well, they say it's the longest river in the world, but they also say the Amazon is. They fight over it. But in either case, about 4,300 miles long. It starts way up in Uganda and Lake Victoria, two rivers, the Blue Nile and the White Nile, flows into one, and we have the Nile that empties into the Mediterranean Sea. Couple fun facts about Egypt in itself, weekends are Fridays and Saturdays, opposed to Saturday, Sunday here. It was the Egyptians that actually came up with the 365-day-a-year calendar. And Egypt itself was founded around 3100 BC. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is our new ship, the AmaDahlia. It's actually in a shipyard right now. In Egypt, you're not allowed to bring any more boats onto the Nile. Nobody can. So the only way to do it is to purchase a boat and do what you want with the boat. So we bought a boat about 1.5 years ago, a cruise ship. It's been in the shipyard for the last year. We scraped it down to its hull and we rebuilt it from the bottom to the top. And called it the AmaDahlia. Dahlia is a plant that's native to Egypt. The ship itself has capacity for 68 guests. There are 34 staterooms. There's actually 18 standard rooms and then 16 suites. We have a swimming pool, restaurant. Actually, let's look out at the deck plan. I can explain it easier for you. All right, so here's our deck plan. It's 5 decks. 4 of the decks are named after plants native to Egypt. Acacia deck down on the lower deck. The orange and the yellow, those are the standard rooms. They're still pretty big rooms at 196 square feet. Work your way up, and then we come up to the category C, the purple, and those are larger rooms at 226 square feet, and then you come with a French balcony. And anything after that, the green, turquoise, pink, and blue, navy blue, those are all suites, and I'll talk about those later. And they range in size from 370 to 430 square feet. Up on the Jasmine deck, well, actually, first on the Lily deck, we do have our main restaurant, and then you work your way up to the Jasmine deck. We have our chef's table, and if you've cruised with us before in Europe, you'll know what the chef's table is, sort of kind of like a private restaurant where we have our chef there, and we invite 13 to 15 guests each night. All guests are invited over the period of the 7 nights, and you have a special meal with the chef that prepares in front of you. We'll also have a fitness room, massage room, hair and nail salon, a bar. Also, we have an elevator on board from the Acacia deck all the way up to the Jasmine deck. It doesn't go up to the Sun deck where we have a bar and a pool. And also, the last thing I mentioned is that some of the rooms, particularly in category the green and the navy blue, those are connecting rooms should you travel with family and so on. All right, here's a nice shot of these are all artist renditions because our ship is still in the AmaDahlia is in the shipyard. We expect it to be finished maybe by January of next year. And then we have about 8 months to get everything prepared for our first sailing in September. But this is the upper deck, and with the pool. And look in the background there, you kind of see an area that's covered with a roof and so on. That's the outdoor deck, and we have shade on the top deck because the sun is very dry. The sun is very strong. It's a very dry area of the world, and so dry that the last time I was there, I met with one of our Egyptologists, Dina, and we were in Luxor and asked her when was the last time it rained in Luxor, and she said, she looked at me with a strange face, shrugged her shoulders, and she goes, I have no clue, maybe 17 or 19 years ago. So it doesn't rain very often on this area of the Nile. You might get some rain in Cairo. Those circular things that you see there, those are showers on the upper deck. This is just a photo of the atrium or the entrance into the AmaDahlia. And this is our lounge, and the lounge will have, first of all, a sip and sail. If you're familiar with sip and sail that we have, it's kind of like a happy hour before dinner where we have complimentary wine, drinks, and spirits, or a cocktail of the day or something. And we'll always have sip and sail on the AmaDahlia for an hour before dinner. After dinner, we will have entertainment. You know, there'll be things like a belly dance show, what they call a galabaya party, which is like a costume party. There's a Darakush show, which is kind of like folklore music, singing and dancing and so on. So lots of things will always go on in the lounge. Here's a picture of the restaurant that we're using, and then basically in the restaurant, we'll be able to cater to different cuisines, if you're dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian, and so on. We should be able to take care of that there. Most of our food will be imported from Europe for simply hygienic reasons. Dinner and lunch, while are always in wine, local wine and local beer are always included. And what is local wine in Egypt? Local wine is a mixture of Egyptian grapes as well as South African. There's only so many vineyards that you can are producing in Egypt, so they import grapes from South Africa, they mix it all together, and they come up with a really nice wine. Just a typical picture of the meals in the evening. The food that we will serve will be Egyptian or Mediterranean, and that's what their food is more like, Mediterranean, Western Middle East, as well as continental Europe. So you'll have different choices, and we'll be able to please most palates. Here's a picture of one of our suites. They come with one bed or two beds. You just have to let us know in advance. And the suites come with a sitting room, which you'll see up on the top right-hand side, and you can kind of go and see an aerial view looking down. The rooms will always have complimentary Wi-Fi and on-demand television. Here's a picture of, I guess, the sitting room. And of course, in this part of the world, all the rooms are air conditioned. In our suites, 16 of them, they all have a walk-in shower and a tub. And what's important, I didn't know, but they say it is that 2 sinks. So you'll always have 2 sinks in the suites, a tub and a walk-in shower. This photo here is just our standard rooms. If you remember back, I said on the lower deck, the rooms are about 196 square feet. This is a good photo of them. They come with a picture window, bedding. It doesn't show it in this photo here, but there's also storage under the bed. And this is a picture looking out in the opposite direction, out towards the hallway. All right, let's talk about the trip itself. That was the AmaDahlia. So what's going to happen is you'll fly from the North America, you'll get to Cairo. Most flights in Cairo don't arrive until late afternoon or into the evening. So what we'll do is we'll meet you when you get off your flight, and we'll help you through immigration, and then we'll transfer you to the hotel. Everybody gets a transfer. Doesn't matter whether you purchase air through AmaWaterways or through Dawn, or you purchase it yourself, you'll always get a transfer on arrival to the Four Seasons Cairo at first residence. So we'll meet you at the airport. You do need a visa for Egypt. Cost of a visa is $35, and you can purchase that online. I would go online maybe a month before you're about to travel, fill out the application form, and within a couple of days they'll send you a confirmation. You print it out and you bring it with you. You can actually get a visa on arrival, but it slows down the immigration process. So you can't get through, it'll take you much longer to get to the hotel because you'll have to get in line. So the Four Seasons here, the location is about an hour, or not an hour, about a mile south of downtown Cairo. Remember what I said, Cairo's a massive city, very chaotic. So we thought it was better to be in a hotel, which kind of portrays some peace, tranquility. Look to the right-hand side, you'll see there's a lot of trees. There's a botanical gardens across the street from the Four Seasons here. The hotel itself has about 200 rooms, complimentary Wi-Fi. There's a pool. I'll show you a few pictures of it. Well, let's take a look down there. These are the rooms we're using. They're superior rooms, and they all have a partial Nile view. So look over to the left-hand side. You can kind of see where the Nile's located. The other thing about our rooms are that they come equipped with the Bose music system. So if you're familiar with Bose stereos and music and stuff, we know that's a high quality music system. Here's a picture of the pool at the hotel overlooking the Nile. And remember I said there are actually 6 to 7 restaurants in this hotel, depending on the time of the year. The restaurants actually cater to different cuisines around the world. So lots of different restaurants to satisfy your taste. Sometimes they have a small casino in there at the same time. There's a fitness center, spa. We don't include dinner when you're in Cairo. We're in Cairo for 3 nights. We don't include dinner simply because there's so many choices to eat at the hotel. We'll have a welcome reception on the 2nd night with cocktails and appetizers and stuff, but as for dinner, we just think we'll always include breakfast. We always include lunch in Cairo, but for dinner, we'll let you scatter at the hotel, or you may actually want to leave the hotel and try one of your favorite Cairo restaurants. So you've arrived in Cairo, we've taken you to the hotel, you've gotten a good night's sleep. The next day, we're going to head off to the Egyptian Museum. And the Egyptian Museum houses King Tut and the treasures. King Tut, the mask was found in 1925. King Tut actually reigned, he was the king of Egypt from 1332 BC to 1322 BC. He ruled Egypt for 10 years, and he started ruling Egypt at the age of 9. He died at 19, so he died pretty young, but he ruled Egypt almost when he was such a child. Now, the Egyptian Museum, it's old, it's built in like 1902. They're building a new museum called the Grand Museum, and it's a much bigger museum in Cairo. It's going to house 30,000 more artifacts that they found that are currently in storage. So if the new museum is open, we will be going to the new one, and the King Tut exhibit also gets transferred to the museum. The new museum was supposed to open last year, it didn't, and then they said this year and it didn't, but now they're promising us that it'll be open in 2021. Nevertheless, either museum, we will go to the one that's open. You'll get a small tour of a section of the museum, and then you'll have free time to explore. After we visit the museum, we're going to head down to this place called the Khan al-Khalili Market. This market is full of artists, craftsmen, kind of like this is where you find a lot of local products and arts and crafts. It's been around since the 10th century, and what also this area has is coffee houses. And this part of Egypt is famous for its coffee houses. In fact, coffee houses have been around Cairo since the 17th century. And if you think about Starbucks, they've been around since, I don't know, the 1990s or 1980s, I guess, in Seattle. Egypt they were visiting coffee houses way back in the 17th century. And not only that, these coffee houses produce fantastic food. So we're going to have lunch down in the Khan al-Khalili market in a coffee house and have a delicious lunch. And then we'll tour the market, and you have time to walk around and meet the local vendors and so on. The other thing I should notice that, remember I said the ship holds 68 guests. And so what happens is we will split everybody up into groups of 20 to 23 people, and you will get your own Egyptologist throughout the whole trip, from the beginning right to the end. And so 20 to 23 people, you get your own Egyptologist. They'll be with you the whole time. And then, sorry, I just got distracted. Sorry, go away. So you will you have a tour of the market. Oh, the Egyptologist, yeah. 3 Egyptologists, they'll be with you for the whole trip. Plus there'll be an AMA tour director for you that oversees the Egyptologists as well as the guests. So you're going to be well taken care of, and you'll be also well informed. So we'll go back to the hotel that night. You get a good night's sleep, visit one of the restaurants, and the next day we're going to head over to the pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza. And the pyramids themselves, they were actually the tallest structures in the world up until the 14th century. They were built around, let me see, around 2500 BC, 3 of them. Each one consists of 2 to 2.5 million blocks of limestone and granite, and they are considered like the oldest, one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. A lot of guests ask, well, can I go inside the pyramid? They are tombs, and technically, yes, you can, but they're not open very often. And so I would say no. Even if it was open, what happens is they'll charge you like $25 that day to go and crawl into the tomb. And you do have to crawl. If you have mobility issues, this wouldn't be for you. You crawl, and then you have to kind of move sideways and down these narrow steps with no handrails and stuff to get into the center of the pyramid. So you can do that if it's available that day, but I wouldn't worry about it too much because we're going to visit other tombs on the trip down along the Nile. Another question we often get asked is, can I do a camel ride? Yeah, you can do a camel ride. Camels aren't even native to Egypt, but if you want to do a camel ride, this is the place you would do it in at the pyramids. Camel ride right now costs like $15 to $20, and you'll meet the camel owner and the camel, and they'll sort of lead you around for about 10 to 15 minutes and get a picture and and then we'll be on our way. You'll also see the Sphinx. The Sphinx itself, what makes the Sphinx kind of cool is that it was actually carved out of one stone. And a Sphinx has the body of a lion and the head of a king. This Sphinx here by the pyramids was built around 2560 BC. And it's the head is of King Khafre, and of course the lion is the body. I would say it took, they're saying about 3 years to carve the Sphinx out. After we visit the pyramids and the Sphinx, we're going to visit the Mena House restaurant. And the Mena House used to be a hunting lodge, and it was built back in 1860. And hunters used to come down to this part of the world. And I got to close my door because I'm getting distracted. Just 1 second, sorry.
The joys of working from, from home.
Sorry about that. Okay, where was I? I'm at the Mena House, and we're just outside of Cairo near the pyramids. The Mena House was built in 1860. It was a hunting lodge. Europeans used to come down, hunt for hippos and crocodiles. The architecture of this place is spectacular. They've added on now to make a hotel here too, but the original architecture is spectacular. So you're going to have a 5-star lunch at the Mena House, and we'll get to more explore the area. After lunch, we're going to go visit a couple of synagogues and churches in Cairo, and then we're going to head back to the hotel for the night, and that'll be your 3rd night free. And then the next morning, we're going to head to the airport, and we're going to fly down to Luxor. Luxor, the flight down from Cairo to Luxor takes about 1 hour. And then once we get to Luxor later in the morning, we'll go to our ship, the AmaDahlia. It'll be we have our own private dock in Luxor. You'll get on the ship, settle into your room and stuff, have lunch, and then we're going to head to Karnak Temple. Luxor, city of about 500,000 people. Luxor is an Arabic word meaning fortress, and it's considered probably the world's greatest open-air museum. And we're going to go visit that afternoon Luxor Temple. And Luxor Temple, built around 1400 BC. It's mostly of sandstone, built by order of King Ramses II. In terms of walking tours in this part of the world, most of the walking tours that we do of the temples take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. And you should have good walking shoes. You should be able to stand, up to 2 hours at a time. These temples are the way they were, back in 2500 BC or 1500 BC. There's no handrails, there's no ramps, no benches to sit and stuff. So you should be able to stand for up to 2 hours and walk along uneven surfaces and so on with your Egyptologist. Always bring a sun hat because the sun can be strong. And our tours, because you're going to be in small groups of 20, 23 people, you will also have headsets so you can always hear your Egyptologist when you're walking through the temple. Another cool temple we're going to visit is the Queen Hatshepsut, or as Magdi in Egypt told me to call it, Queen Hot Chicken Soup. And that's how I pronounce it because it's pretty hard to pronounce it the real way. Queen Hot Chicken Soup, she ruled Egypt for 20 years. She was the first female leader of Egypt, incredibly strong. She reigned for 20 years and then her son took over. If you come to Egypt now, you're going to see statues of Queen Hot Chicken Soup, and often she'll have a beard. You've seen those pictures of a beard, strong shoulders, because they really felt she's such a strong leader. They looked at her as a man. And the weird thing about this is that nowadays, if you get a female president, prime minister, you know, governor, whatever. It's a big deal. But in Egypt, they had female leaders, you know, 3,000 years ago. So they were way ahead of their game. Now, here's an interesting thing that we're going to visit. This is very few people get to see this. This is the tomb of Queen Nefertari. Queen Nefertari, she was the first wife of King Ramses II. She was also considered the most beautiful. She could read, she could write, and you know, she married King Ramses when she was 13. Ramses was 15. She lived to the rightful age of about 45. In today's time, that would be like 100 years old. King Ramses lived to like 66, although some literature says he lived up to 92. So in either case, he lived a very strong, he was very healthy and lived a good long life. When you go into this tomb, and why don't many people go into this tomb, is because number one, they really didn't even get to this tomb or discover it or bring it, open it up to the public until the 1980s. And it was only opened up occasionally. And why don't many people include it? Simply because of the cost. It is a really special tomb. Our cost, just to take one person inside here, if I was going up there to pay, it would be $125. So that's why most cruise companies don't include it, but we include it on our trip. And also what's really amazing are the colors inside this tomb. And when you walk around the tomb, you'll see little poems that were written by King Ramses to Queen Nefertari. So this is really a cool, exclusive access that very few visitors to Egypt get to see. Here's another picture of it. You can see how colorful it is. It's fascinating. Here's another neat temple. I just put this in the Temple of Horus, and the reason I put this in was simply because it wasn't discovered until 1860. It was by a French archaeologist who was running around Egypt, I guess. He was digging around, he came to something hard, and he kept digging more and more and more, and he came across this temple. But what he was digging around was, this whole temple was a massive sand dune. And that's what they thought it was for thousands of years, you know, hundreds of years, I guess, whatever. Until he started digging down, they found out there was a temple below it. So kind of cool. Another picture of the Nile. Sometimes it'll be blue, sometimes it'll be muddy, depending on the time of the season. Here's an interesting fact a lot of people don't know, that when the sun rises in the east, they call it the birth of the day. And when the sun sets in the west, they call it the death of the day. Therefore, temples are on the east side, tombs are on the west side of the Nile, because tombs are where, you know, tombs are where the death, you know, they're laid to rest, and the sun sets in the west. So it's pretty cool. We'll also get an opportunity to ride through on a felucca. This is the traditional way of traveling. And we're going to visit a Nubian village. The Nubians are like the indigenous here in the US, or First Nations up in Canada. And the Nubians came from the Sahara probably around 8,000 BC. You know, the Egyptians really didn't, you know, who were Romans and Greeks, they didn't show up until around 3,500 BC. The Nubians settled in southern Egypt and northern Sudan around 8,000 BC. They live on the islands now of the Nile. These are the villages. The villages are incredibly colorful. And if you look, you can see drawings and carving, pictures and so on their homes. This tells the history of the family. That's what this whole thing is. So we're going to visit a Nubian village on an island. It's actually called Hessa. And spend some time with the Nubians, and visit maybe one of their markets. And, you know, other companies visit other Nubian villages, this part of the world, but they come in, they say hello, and they head back to the ship and have a nice lunch. We're not going to do that. We'll visit the market, and then we're going to have lunch with the locals in the Nubian village. So again, it's another idea of connecting with the local people. Abu Simbel. Remember the first time I saw Abu Simbel, I really didn't know what to expect. And seeing Abu Simbel for the first time was like seeing the pyramids for the first time, or the Great Wall of China, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu. This is a spectacular site. And Abu Simbel originally was, well, what happened when they built Abu Simbel, it was around 200 BC. or 2000 BC, King Ramses built it for Queen Nefertari. He built it along the Nile River. And then back in the late 1950s and 1960s, they built what they call the High Dam near Aswan. It was formed a big lake called Lake Nasser. And as the dam started to fill up and the lake started getting higher and higher, they realized it was going to cover Abu Simbel. So the government took it apart, piece by piece, brick by brick, moved it up the hill 600 feet and rebuilt it back in the early 1960s. This is a spectacular temple. And you notice the doorway there. When the sun rises on February 22nd and October 22nd of each year, the first rays of the sun will shine right through that doorway, right out to the other side of the temple. And I put this in here because most cruise companies on the Nile will sell Abu Simbel as an optional. We do also, but it's first come, first served, because the only way to get to Abu Simbel is by plane, and it's about 200 miles south of Aswan. So the number of seats each day to go see Abu Simbel is based on the number of seats available on the plane, or the number of people that can go. It depends on the seat. So once that plane is full, you can't go. And a lot of people get disappointed that they can't see Abu Simbel because simply the flight is full. Sometimes they may have two planes. So with Ama, you're able to pre-book this before you leave on your trip. So you don't need to worry about whether you're going to be able to get a seat on that plane to see Abu Simbel. And you'll say, why don't we include it? Well, the cost is kind of expensive at it's worth it, $345 for the 4-hour trip, including the flights. But that's still a lot of money to a lot of people. And I would say maybe 80% will go to Abu Simbel, 20% may not go simply because of the cost. But it's because everyone that won't go see it, we decided to make it an optional, but you can pre-book it. So I really highly recommend this is something that you might want to do.
Yeah. Todd, I have just one more comment on that also. There's a number of there's a number of really good documentaries you can find just even on YouTube, because after hearing Todd talk about this and how they dismantled this temple, I went online to look for this, and it's just impressive. I mean, literally just painstaking to take some of these things apart and, cutting them in such a way, and you really just have to go see it. So I just want to throw that comment if anybody's interested in that.
And the setting is spectacular because you're overlooking this massive lake that goes on forever and ever. It's pretty cool. So yeah, if you go online to YouTube, and I think even like the PBS app on Apple TV, they've got some shows on ancient Egypt, ancient civilizations that they're great to watch. There's inside the Abu Simbel. And another neat temple that we're going to visit is the Komombo. And what is Komombo? It's about 30 miles north of Aswan, built around 350 BC. And you can look in the middle there. There's two entrances, to the left and to the right. The first entrance is dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek, and the entrance on the right is to the falcon god Horus. And what makes this temple interesting is that, remember how I said Sobek, the crocodile god, it was dedicated to that. You'll find a lot of mummified crocodiles in the area here. Here's Karnak Temple. This is the largest temple that we actually visit, and this is probably where you'll end up doing a walking tour of about 2 hours. And Karnak Temple, largest temple found in Egypt at about 250 acres, over 2,000 years old. Here's a neat photo of the Temple of Hathaway in Dendera, and there's 3 temples here. You've got some Egyptian, Greek, Roman architecture with these temples. They're probably the best preserved temples. Look in the front here, you kind of see something like these temples had swimming pools and sacred pools. You can't swim in them today. They're filled up with rock, but the Egyptians were swimming in pools 3,000 years ago. Again, something that they were doing, that we look at something like that's very special for us to do nowadays. Egyptians took it as a norm 3,000 years ago. All right, we've been 7 nights on the Nile, and then we're going to head back to Cairo for the last day or the last night. And if you remember, if you've been on 2 trips to Europe and stuff, you go for 10 days and visit a church one day, a plaza the next day, maybe another church and stuff. So by the end of the trip, you're going to go visit another church or plaza and stuff. It's going to be spectacular But wouldn't it be nice to see something different? And that's what we've done here. Is we're going to fly back from the Nile, back up to Cairo, and we're going to go visit the presidential palace. It's called the Abdeen Palace, and it was built around 1873. This is where the president of Egypt lives. There's some museums inside the palace, like the palace is known for its clock museum, antique clock museum, a lot of artwork. These are little tiny museums within the palace. Also, when dignitaries come, this is where they will stay from foreign lands. This is where they stay. Gifts that they bring to Egypt, the dignitaries, are also on display here in the presidential palace. Very exclusive visit. Not many people get to go in here. It's expensive, but what we decided to do, if you think about it, this is your last night in Egypt and you're in Cairo. Most of the flights back to North America leave in the very early mornings from Cairo, and 5 a.m., 6, 7, 8 a.m. And so what we decided to do is have a farewell lunch at the presidential palace. So we'll have lunch in the palace. We'll get to tour a bit of the palace. Here's an idea of what it kind of looks like inside. And then we'll visit Old Cairo, and this is, again, a historic area. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. First settled back in the, probably around the 10th century. And if you said, remember, we had a farewell lunch, a festivity and stuff, we won't include dinner that night, simply because the early flight's the next day. And also, we know that people like to sort of unwind from their trip, go to their room, get a good night's rest, and pack up and get everything together and stuff. So no activities are included on the last night. We'll just do a farewell lunch instead. So on the last day of the trip, we'll transfer you back to the airport in time for your flight back to the US. There are a couple of extensions that you can do before and after, and I'll briefly go over them for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. And the first one is Jordan, 4 nights, and that includes 2 nights in Amman and 2 nights in Petra. And Amman, historic city, been around for thousands of years. Actually, you can find statues here in Amman that date back over 7,000 years. The big city is a cultural hub of Amman. 4 million people live, or Jordan, 4 million people live in Amman today. So we're going to meet you at the airport. We actually we provide the visa so you can get into Jordan, and we'll take you to the hotel. You'll settle in for the first night, and the hotel we have is St. Regis. It's currently under renovation, so it'll be all ready for us in 2021. It's one of Amman's top hotels. It's a nice photo of the lobby. And the next day, we're going to visit Old Amman, tour that, and then we're going to head about 35 miles north of Amman and visit Jerash. And Jerash is kind of like an old Roman settlement. It was around since the 2nd century. You kind of get an idea of what the Roman influence there when you take a look at the Colosseum. After 2 nights in Amman, we'll head south, about 4 hours south to Petra, and here's a famous site, the treasury at Petra. Petra probably was settled. You get different route. They say it was settled about 7,000 BC. Different books say different dates and so on. But no matter what, it was a thriving community. And this picture that you see here from Raiders of the Lost Ark with the ball coming down. And this city thrived. It was an incredibly dry area of Jordan, but they built conduits from the mountains and water aquifilters, and they came down and they supplied the city with water. Unfortunately, drought hit in around the 2nd century. Then they had a huge earthquake in the 3rd century, and then trading routes changed. And so this city was abandoned probably, they guess, around the 3rd or 4th century. And it wasn't rediscovered again until the early 1800s. So the place that we're going to stay in Petra is called the Old Village Resort. And I put this in. On this trip, you've been treated to 5-star in Cairo, 5-star in the AmaDahlia, Amman, and so on. This hotel is only a 4-star hotel. But it is a unique hotel. It's actually owned by the villagers in Petra. Yes, there is a Marriott down the road and a Movenpick and stuff, but we thought it would be nice to support the locals. It is so local, they don't even have a liquor license. In fact, liquor's a taboo in this part of the world, and so they don't have a liquor license, and they're just fine with that. But the setting is spectacular. This climate here can be very warm, and so you can see the rooms built out of the local rock and stuff. It's just a really cool place to stay. And if you go on TripAdvisor or anything like that, you'll always find the Old Village Resort as the #1 place to stay in Petra. Another option to do is visit before your trip is to Dubai. And Dubai is a massive city, incredible city, architecture out of this world. Some of it spectacular, some of it cheesy, but it doesn't matter. It's something that everyone should see at least once. It's built on the ocean, on the Arabian Sea, and you'll fly into Dubai 3 nights. The hotel you can see is the Marriott Marquis, and you can see the architecture, even of the Marriott is spectacular. And these pictures of the room overlooking the harbor and so on. In Dubai, we'll tour the waterfront, see the city. We'll also head out into the desert one evening, explore the sand dunes. We'll also have dinner out in the desert, so a special dinner out there. And if you remember how I told you about architecture in Dubai, how crazy it is sometimes, when I was there once in July, it was like 117 degrees, which is why we don't cruise in that time of the year or visit this part of the world. And I said to our guide here, I said, I can't take it anymore. Let's get out of the heat. So it was noontime. He goes, let's go to the mall. And I said, I'm not a mall guy. I don't like shopping, that kind of stuff. He goes, let's just go to the mall. It was cool. So we walked in the mall, and there was a massive artificial ski hill inside the mall. So that afternoon, instead of going out where it was 117 degrees outside, we spent the next 3 hours skiing on this artificial hill inside a mall. And I didn't have to go shopping, which is what I hate. So that was kind of cool. Another neat place we'll visit, we'll actually leave Dubai and we'll drive about 80 kilometers to the southeast or southwest, and we'll visit the Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi. It looks beautiful. It's not old, 1980s it was built, but it's still a spectacular thing to see. We'll tour Abu Dhabi, we'll visit the mosque, and we're there on a Thursday. If you were there in this mosque on a Friday, you would be hanging out inside that square with 40,000 other worshipers. So that's 3 nights in Dubai before the trip. And the final option is Israel for 4 nights. And when you go to Israel, you know, if your Christian heritage is really important to you, you're brought up and so on like that, you're going to go to Israel 10 days, 2 weeks. If you're Jewish and your Jewish ancestry is important to you, and you want to discover more about yourself, you would go to Israel for 10 days, 2 weeks. But we're only going to go to Jerusalem for 4 nights. So what we're trying to do is to give you a taste of everything what Israel has to offer. So we'll fly from Cairo to Tel Aviv. The flight takes about an hour and a half. We'll tour Tel Aviv, and then we'll head up to Jerusalem for 4 nights. And when we're in Jerusalem, you know, we'll visit the tomb of King David. We'll visit Bethlehem. We'll visit the Jewish quarter. We'll even go to the local market where the locals go buy their fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. The hotel we're going to stay at is at the Waldorf Astoria. Another, again, 5-star hotel in the middle of Jerusalem. Nice view. But we're going to do one thing again. We always like to take it one step later. We're going to leave Jerusalem for a day, and we're going to head out. We're going to head to Masada. This is a massive fortress built on top of a hill back around 30 BC by King Herod. And it was actually used as a escape for the, you know, royalty and dignitaries. It's kind of like a getaway for the rich and famous, I guess. But it was abandoned eventually, and it's laid on its own there. You can look over on the left-hand side on the way up. You can see something like a black thing sticking out. That's a cable car. So we're actually going to go to the top of Masada, and we'll tour Masada. Then look up on the left-hand side there. You see all that water? That water is actually the Dead Sea. And we're going to go from Masada, and we're going to go down to the Dead Sea, and you'll get the opportunity to swim in the Dead Sea. And that's not me. And we'll visit a resort on the Dead Sea. And if you want to go swimming, you can. If you can't swim, I guess it's no problem, because you can't sink in the Dead Sea because there's so much salt. The Dead Sea is also the lowest elevation found anywhere in the world, depending on the level of the sea at the time of the year and stuff, anywhere from 1,700 to 1,400 feet below sea level. So again, we're just going to do different things, sort of satisfy all the tastes, each individual. So that's 4 nights in Israel, and we'll take you back to the hotel that day, and next day we'll take you down to Tel Aviv, and you can fly home. So that's my presentation of Egypt and its extensions and stuff like that.
That was wonderful. That was great. That was a really, really good overview. And we do have a couple of questions that I'll go through, and encourage anybody else, if you thought of anything that you'd like to add, please add it to the questions box. We got a little bit more time. The first question, Todd, are the flights included in the price?
When you go on the website, you'll see the price of the land program, and at the bottom, there's 2 flights that are included within Egypt. I think they're about $400, and you add that to the price that you see on the website. Same if we have an online Egypt brochure. We haven't been able to distribute brochures because of the pandemic. And again, if you look in the price box, you'll see the price there, and then at the bottom we'll say add $400 for the intra flights. In terms of flying over to Egypt, that's where Don comes in handy. Correct, Don?
Right. Yeah, but we'll contact the air department at the AMA and get that set up for you, so we can package it all together. But the intra flights that you're talking about, those will get added into the package.
Correct.
And we'll do the international flights also for you. So it really just comes all together. It's a really nice package the way they put it together.
Wonderful. The other question, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, the question though is what is included for non-drinkers? We'll still have soft drinks and maybe some other juices and things, and of course some water for guests on board the ship. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely bottled water is going to be available. And, you know, you'll get a bottle or 2 depending on all the walking tours. You don't need to worry about that. But again, fruit juices, soda, all that stuff, that'll be available.
Okay. And then we've got another question. So given that it's so hot, are women allowed to wear tank tops or shorts, or are they required to cover their shoulders and knees? Do we know that?
Interesting question. Okay. Yeah, no, there's no dress code, mandatory dress code. Only once on this whole trip, you visit a synagogue in Cairo, and they'll ask you to cover your knees. But otherwise, you can visit Egypt to just, you know, in your regular travel clothes and stuff like that, shirts and a t-shirt, stuff like that. That's how I did it.
Very good. Those are all the questions I see right now. At this time, Don, is there anything that you would like to add or have Todd go back and maybe expand a bit on?
No, there's a lot of great information, Todd. Thank you very much. Just to let everyone know, we're gonna, when we do download this, I'm gonna send it out to everybody. So you'll have this recording that you can look again at your leisure, and you can share with your family and friends, you know, that might be interested in putting a package together and coming with us. We haven't set one up for our group yet. We're still looking at what time of year we want to go. With everything that's going on right now, we're probably looking at 2022 to put something together as a group package, which would give you a little more incentive to be a little bit better pricing involved, and some amenities also. And you'll get that too. As soon as we have that available, we'll let you know about that also.
And I'll say one thing also about the temperature and stuff like that. In Egypt, if you go in later in October, November, December, January, February, March, the temperatures are very comfortable. It's just at the fringes, like June, you know, early September and stuff, it can get very hot. The Canadians like going that time of year because it's hot and they like the heat. Same with the UK, but I hate it. So,
I think that's it.
So you have much information up there. Okay, there you go.
There we go.
So
Sorry about that.
No worries. If you want to contact us about this trip or about any other AmaWaterways trip, or any trip in general, there's our information, a phone number, our website, and our email. When I do send out that information to you about the recording that you can link to, this will be in there also, so you can give us a call. And we'd love to talk to you and see if we can help you make your dreams come true, get a dream vacation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Don, again for this. And Todd, thanks again for a wonderful presentation.
Sure.
And we hope to welcome you on board an AmaWaterways cruise very soon. So thanks again for joining us, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.